is happening in new site. This is new site. This guy, you fuck man for nyash. You fuck small children for nyash.
That was murdered.
Pedophilia is something that has become a national pandemic, or a state of emergency needs to be enforced, as we see a rise in child pornography, and we also see a rise in so-called child fetishes, not just in developing countries but also in developed America. Now, an image or a video had emerged on the internet of a supposed LGBTQ member who was carrying a basin over his head, and all of a sudden an unnamed man in this video hits him and began to shout homo, and not just shouting homo, also puts him and says na pikin where you dey knack, which means he has been having a sexual intimacy with a child. Now there are so many questions from this said video. What is the age of this child? Whose child was this? Is this actually a gay person in the community? When we say LGBTQIA+, do we also add plus for pedophilia and every other fetish? Let's just watch this video, and once we are right back, we will have a conversation on this same matter. And I remain Chimerize Henry Ahunaya, and you are watching Breaking News Wahala Canada. This is happening in new site. This is new site. This guy, you fuck man for nyash. You fuck small children for nyash. You dey fuck children for nyash. You dey fuck small boys for nyash. I carry that thing for your head. See ya. Now mine dey fuck for nyash. Pikin for that matter. Welcome viewers, thanks for taking your time to watch that videos. A recap of the news. An unknown man was seen in a viral video hit by one of the men in this video and was accused of being a homosexual and a pedophile. Now the alarming rate is that the fetish for child pornography has increased, and these fetishes are not just increasing in developing countries but also in so-called developed countries. It was even tracked that in an underground child porn and underground child porn industry was discovered and had to be shut down, and the perpetrators of this child pornography industry were apprehended.
It is a disturbing issue, but one that is growing. The production of millions of pornographic images of children being sexually abused. They are uploaded from cell phones, webcams, and computers. John Ferrugia of Rocky Mountain PBS has the story of one family who was a victim and explores what you can do to protect your children.
There was a card on our front door from the FBI, and immediately our hearts sank. You know, we thought, why is the FBI contacting us?
7 years ago, Beth and her husband couldn't imagine what the FBI wanted, but they agreed to meet.
They said, we believe your son has been a victim of a crime. And I said, impossible. My son is at home. And he showed me the photos, and immediately I just broke down. My husband broke down crying.
What she saw was her then 4-year-old son being sexually abused. The acts documented in still images and video and uploaded to the internet. It had been going on for 2 years.
And they asked us if we knew who the person was and where he could be located. And
did you?
I did. He actually was a family friend that we had known for a long time, almost my whole life.
It's your neighbor, it's your pastor, it's your teacher, it's your soccer coach. We've had all of those types of people people with kids, people without kids.
FBI Special Agent Tina Forkas has been investigating internet child pornography in the Denver field office for more than 7 years.
I wish there was some magic profile where we could identify these people, but there's not.
It was Forkas, along with agents in Illinois, Missouri, Arizona, and Colorado, who were able to identify her son. Through their investigation, they discovered he had been a victim in a multi-state child porn ring, and the agents tracked down those who had sexually abused him for years.
My son was going to my dad's house. My dad also had some people that were helping him out and providing care and resources at his house.
So he had no idea?
He had absolutely no idea.
The men, one married with 2 children and the other single, who had access to Beth's son, were arrested and convicted. The break in the case came with the arrest of this man, Richard Franklin. He is a 50-year-old military veteran who lived in this quiet Denver neighborhood with his parents, who knew nothing about their son's criminal obsession.
You take a quick walk around the house and you immediately know usually who your subject is, because it's the bedroom with all the computers and all the keyboards.
FBI photos from their search of the house show how Franklin closeted himself with his computers, where he could view images he collected of children being sexually abused.
He had hundreds of thousands of images and videos of child pornography.
Hundreds of thousands?
Yes, hundreds of thousands.
Franklin's images of sexually abused children stored on hard drives were being traded with like-minded predators all over the U.S. and beyond. Franklin was advertising for child porn, receiving images, including those of Beth's son, and trading images from his collection. Franklin was convicted and sentenced to 100 years in federal prison. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, known as NCMEC, works with federal, state, and local law enforcement to identify children in photos who are being sexually abused. Here's how it works. Internet service providers like Google, Yahoo, and others monitor the billions of uploads and downloads of material with algorithms that search for possible child pornography. When it's detected, the providers review them and contact NCMEC, sending a sample of the image as well as information about the web server and the address. It is then passed along to the FBI for possible investigation.
We're able to run those images against known images that NCMEC has, and that may play a part in victim identification.
Calvin Shivers is the special agent in charge of the FBI office in Denver. He previously headed the Violent Crimes Against Children section at FBI headquarters. He says in Colorado, about 50% of child porn cases investigated are derived from tips from internet providers through the nonprofit.
A lot of times when you just get a general tip, there may not be enough information, but NCMEC, because of the experienced staff, they're able to, in some instances, call additional information that may help the investigation.
The number of tips compiled by the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children has exploded in recent years. In 2010, there were more than 213,000 tips involving child pornography. In 2017, the number of tips was more than 10 million.
The number of cases that are happening, it's an avalanche. I mean, we just feel like we're dishing the ocean out with a spoon.
Judy Smith is chief of the Cybercrime and National Security section of the U.S. Attorney's Office in Denver.
Nobody wants to know that this dark side of humanity exists, and not just exists, but the scope of it.
Judy Smith says another growing concern involves increasingly younger kids carrying smartphones.
They can take pictures of themselves, and they can send those to their friends or somebody who they think are friends. There's online predators out there who pose as young boys or girls who then entice or ask kids to self-produce child pornography.
I know you've been waiting for this for a while.
And FBI Special Agent Tina Forkas says once just one photo is sent by an unsuspecting child or teen to a predator posing online as another kid, as illustrated in this NCMEC training video,
They can be blackmailed, or they're too embarrassed to say anything, so they continue to send pictures.
To emphasize the point, Forkas noted that while we were conversing on an upper floor of the FBI building in Denver,
People are actively posting child pornography on one of my undercover computers downstairs. There's a little girl on that site. You can tell she's self-producing. I mean, she's holding the cell phone out. She's nude. She's maybe 10, 11 years old. And we're seeing this live on this site. Why is she taking pictures of herself? Where are her parents?
You know, parents should be cognizant of what their children are doing on the internet and on their smartphones, just across the board.
and FBI Special Agent in Charge Calvin Shivers says it goes beyond monitoring.
Parents should also make sure that there's a good avenue for their children to communicate. And if they had that conversation, that the children know that they can come to them. To your point, a lot of the victims don't feel that they can talk to their parents, and that causes them to be re-victimized over and over again.
For Beth's son and for her family, ongoing therapy has brought them beyond trauma to hope.
How does your son see his future?
Oh, just very positive. He's also going to have this story to go with it that, you know, I dealt with this as a child, and look, here I am, and you can get through it too.
Beth and her family say they hope public discussion of this horrific crime will bring public awareness and reduce the stigma for victims whose childhood photos often remain accessible on the web, and that it will help victims and their families heal. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm John Ferrugia in Denver.
The question still boils down in the agitation for freedom and the agitation for liberty and sexual fluidity. Do pedophilia or pedophiles, are they included in our fight for freedom? These are questions that need to be asked because it has gotten out of hand. The first question is, we never got to know the name of the minor in this video. And the appropriate age of minor varies from countries to countries. In Jamaica, for example, an adult is considered an adult when that person is 18 years. In some parts of Central America, once you are turned 17 plus, you are considered an adult. In other countries, once you are 16 and above, you are also considered an adult and could engage in sexual affairs. Another question that needs to be asked: this was not a state of rape. Can a young child have a healthy relationship with an adult? And how old should this child be? Can a 16 years old have a healthy relationship with a 50 years old? Or is there no age limit when it comes to sexual affairs in the LGBTQ community? Now, minus all these questions, let's dive into this video. A homosexual has a right. Like I've said and over again, every queer person has a right. But you need to understand one thing. As a queer person living in a developed country where homosexuality is illegal, everything you do indirectly or directly affects this community and expose this community to more danger. That is why we as community members have to properly carry ourselves in such a way that we are not exposing this community to danger. If this supposed accusation is true, that this queer person is sleeping with a child, it is a taboo. It is bad. It brings a bad name to the whole community, because it now looks as if queer people are initiating young children into sexual initiation. Let's call a spade a spade. In the LGBTQ community, even back in Nigeria, some of you say, I convert this person. This person no be homo, but I convert them. And yet they do the same thing to us, and we are crying. And you are doing the same thing also, and crying, help, help. How can that happen? We talk about conversion therapy, where straight heterosexual people want gay people to have heterosexual sex to convert them. And you as a community member, you are also doing the same thing in reverse, trying to initiate homosexual people to have gay sex so that they can be gay. Are we okay? What are we fighting for? What are we doing? We are denting the name of the community. There is no such thing as conversion. And let us stop, to be honest, let us stop, polishing things. Let's go straight. You are evil if you do such a thing. In short, you are raping somebody, because most of these people that you convert will be having financial difficulties, will be at a very tight corner. Some of you go as far as community members blackmailing straight people. I go tell your wife, say you'd be homosexual if you know, blackmailing just for 5 minutes of sex. Are we not also the ones are we not reaping what we sow? Indirectly, we are reaping what we sow. Because you cannot sow discord, you cannot sow evil and expect love, expect charity. You cannot go to a married person's house, you blackmail the person, you scatter his home, and you think nobody will come for you. You live at peace. The Bible says, he that kills with the sword will die with the sword. And he also that destroys another man's family, your own too will be destroyed. So indirectly, I feel we need to start addressing this. Pedophiles are not part of this community. I do not stand with pedophilia. Pedophilia can never, will never be welcome in this community. People who have fetishes for children need psychological help and need therapy to be able to remove such urges. Because I no understand how full grown man go look small pikin say, now this one I want to. What manner of wickedness is that? So I feel we need to start calling it out, and we do not need to shame them. Another thing is how we handle pedophilia in our community matters a lot. Yes, I may be shouting, it's not welcome. But we cannot go about saying, oh, anyone or any pedophile we see, we just apprehend and kill. No. We need to be able to have this conversation with pedophiles, to be able to understand how this urges comes about, to be able to understand what drives them to these small kids, and also to be able to put them under surveillance. We as a community need to start talking about pedophilia in our community. It is happening and it needs to be stopped. And again, a recap of the news: a homosexual has been accused of sleeping around with small children. Some homosexuals we know who are pedophile lure these children with biscuit, chewing gum, and there have been so many stories of queer black men being raped. There have also been so many stories of young kids being raped, black kids being raped. And one thing we haven't done is to talk about the rape culture in the black community. We've not spoken about it, and we keep on hiding it because we feel when it comes to rape culture, it is only addressed to women. But black males are raped on a daily basis, and this is why most of them, it's not that they turn queer, this is why most of them have mental health issues. This is why most of them have psychological behaviors, are arrogant, because we have not treated the thing that is boiling within us. So we look for other things as a broken people to cover up for the true thing that is eating us up. And I remain Chimereze Henry Ahonaya, and you have been watching Breaking News Wahala, Q Talk Canada. Peace out.